So thank you for reaching out on my Instagram.
Absolutely.
And you
Uh,
run. It seems like you run a lot.
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything though. Like right now I'm getting back into ultra running. I just got off a hip injury. So I had to have my hip resurfaced.
Oof, that sounds painful.
Yeah, I had severe arthritis. I attempted a world record a few years back in 2019. So the world record was for most 100-mile finishes in a year. I ended up doing 35 in 10 months and I destroyed the cartilage in my right hip.
Oh, wow. What's the record? What did you need to beat?
I needed 42, but there was
Oh,
also three of us going for this record. So the guy that overtook it did 50.
wow.
And then the
Wow.
guy that originally had the record came back a couple years later, last year actually, and he's like, "All right, I want my record back." And he ended up doing 52 in a year.
Wow. Oh my
So
gosh. I just can't imagine
yeah.
the impact on your body with that much running. That is like so much. I feel it when I
Oh
run,
yeah.
and I don't even run that much, but I feel the impact on my body.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, ultra running's a little bit different though, because it's like a little bit of a softer foot strike. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're
Mhm.
not running at like a 5K speed. You're just moving forward. And biggest thing with it is just staying consistent with the pacing. And a lot of people fall off because they get sucked into aid stations and stuff like that, and
Mm.
end up
I
falling
think
asleep. And
missing out on the race.
yeah.
So it's pretty even terrain then. It's not like through mountains and stuff like that. It kind of keeps it pretty even for you.
Oh no, there's mountains and stuff. It just depends on the type of race you're doing. The one I did this past weekend was like a rail trail. So that one was pretty consistent. So it was just like crushed limestone for 100 miles. But some of them, like you're climbing mountains. I think the worst one I did had about 30,000 feet of gain.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Nice. So do you have people set up at stations? Because I've read, a lot of David Goggins and stuff, and he talks about how he'll
yeah.
have people at stations, like sort of feeding him and giving him water and that sort of thing, so he can just keep going. Is that something you have to set up on this?
It depends on the race. Some of them have their own aid stations. I'm usually like a one-man show when I do these things. Like this weekend, for example, I'm flying to Minneapolis, then driving 3 hours to Wisconsin, then doing the race. And as soon as I cross the finish line, I'm driving back to the airport and flying home.
Wow.
And then I do personal training for work. So I got my first session Monday morning at 5 a.m. So
I listened to this, and yesterday I had a really long day. Like I coached
yeah.
2 hours. I work out my 2 hours. I had like 5, 6 meetings. I was so beat last night, but that is nothing compared to what you're doing right there. That is phenomenal. What
Thank
drives you
you.
to want to do that?
Um, I don't know. It's more, I've always been like kind of a limit pusher. And every time I do this, I also carry an American flag, so I can backtrack and get into like the whole story and everything if you want me to, or
Absolutely. Please.
yeah. So I served in two different branches of the military. I was 4 years in the Marines, 3 years in the Army. I had a 6 year break in the middle. And it was during my second term during my Army time. We just me and a couple of friends, I went to the Army to do special forces. I didn't get all the way through. I'll put that up front right now so nobody accuses me of stolen valor, because that happens a lot.
Oh, please.
But while I was in the course, I I did this Army birthday 10 miler on base with a couple of friends, and I like the atmosphere. I like I've always been in the fitness. I'm still a personal trainer for a living, but I did the race, and then it kind of started a chain reaction. So I did the race. I went away for training. I came back. I did a 10K, and then I figured I'd jump right into a marathon. So, I trained up for it and everything, and I was still in the language phase of training. So every 6 weeks we had fitness assessments and stuff like that. So my marathon was on a Monday, or not, I'm sorry, a Sunday, and I had a 12-mile ruck assessment that got rescheduled for a Monday. So I was supposed to do it with a friend, but my friend dropped out, and I was like, you know what, I can do this. I've never ran a marathon before. Marathon's 26.2 miles
Mm.
for those people that aren't in the running. But
That would be me. I had no idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the ultra marathon's anything over 26.2.
Wow.
All
Wow.
right, so I ran this marathon. Yeah, my friend bailed because he didn't want to get dropped from the course because he was concerned that because they rescheduled a 12-mile road march to the day after the marathon. But I went and did the marathon anyway, and I came back the next day and I still finished the 12-mile road march. And we were getting our packs weighed in by Cadre. And I actually, one of my friends said to me, like, while I was getting weighed in, he's like, damn, dude, didn't you just run a marathon yesterday? So the cadre overheard it and he's like, well, wait a minute, stop, a half or a full? So I go to him, oh, a full sergeant, and then he ended up yelling at me. He's like, well, what if you would have went down as a heat casualty? What if this? What if that? Don't even do push-ups. You probably enjoy it too much. Just stand over there.
Wow.
So I'm probably the first person to ever get yelled at in the military for working out too hard.
For going too hard. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're gonna get yelled at, that's a pretty cool thing to be yelled at
Yeah.
about.
I mean, he did apologize to me later for it, but it just kind of, I guess it just kind of took him by shock because not too many people do stuff like that. But yeah, that's what started everything. And then I'd gotten out of the military in 2012. And when I first got out, I struggled a lot like adapting and everything like that. And like I didn't really have like any objectives or anything. I mean, I was working, but like it just kind of felt like I was in like this long like endless tunnel with no light at the end of it, and I was just like existing. So the beginning of 2013 came around, and I'm like, I got to do something though. So I started getting back into like the endurance world again, and I fell into something called Spartan Race. If you've ever heard of
Hmm.
Spartan races, they're like a
Yeah.
military themed obstacle race. So I did a couple of those, and it kind of like revived me a little bit. It's like, all right, I'm crossing the finish line, I'm getting the medal, I'm accomplishing an objective. So I'm just going to keep going with it, So, I kept accomplishing one thing and then another, and then, gradually it increased to like bigger things. And the following year in 2014, I'm like, I need to bring awareness to something like this. So in 4th of July of 2014, I started wearing a 45-pound rucksack out for all my events to represent the emotional baggage that our veterans and our service members deal with when they get home.
I love that.
And
And 45 pounds is heavy. Like I ruck with
yeah,
like 25 pounds or so, and it's a reminder to me about the amount of weight that I've lost. So every time I take it off, I'm like,
that's
oh,
awesome.
yes, I
Yeah,
never want to go back to that again. And it makes me remember like how hard it was to
yeah.
carry around that weight, but not as at all as cool as why you do it, but still.
Oh
45
yeah,
pounds is a lot.
and then so I continued to do that for an entire year. Then the following 4th of July, I added the American flag to it. And the American flag started to draw more attention to the cause and everything though. So, I still continue with the 45-pound pack on all the shorter distance stuff because there's no way I'm doing 45 pounds for 100 miles.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, but like that'll probably be like what ends me. But
Don't say that. We don't want
yeah.
that.
Well, no, like whenever I'm ready to stop, I'll do like one final, and it'll definitely be course dependent because with ultra marathons anything can happen. But yeah, I got into running with the flag after that, and I've attached it to many causes, even outside of like the whole PTSD awareness and everything like that. So like 2016, when there was a lot of stuff going on with the police and everything, like all those movements and a lot of shootings and stuff. I did a thank the police tour where I went out and I bought about 40 American flags and I ran around police precincts across the country. And every police precinct I ran to, I folded up the particular flag that I ran with, and I also had a handwritten thank you card and a handwritten list of donors because I had a GoFundMe and everything set up. And I gave it to the police to show that the community appreciated them. And I took 2 weeks off of work to do this. So over the 2 week period, I'm based out of Long Island. So I started up there. I went as far south as Miami and as far west as San Diego. And I pretty much just drew a circle on the map and played connect the dots and Google mapped everything out. And I'm like, I can make this work. And I think the end total was 24 locations I stopped at. I mean,
Wait,
I
did
actually
you
drove.
run to all those locations or you would drive in between?
I would drive to the locations and then I would run at the police precinct
Yeah.
And in the beginning I didn't really know what I was doing. It didn't really catch much attention. I would just like throw a social media post up on like Instagram and Facebook, with me handing the flag over and everything to an officer. But
Yeah.
by the time I got to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, that was like an invite from a Marine who is a Facebook friend of mine. His brother and his partner got shot in a traffic stop. So
Mm.
I did a run for them, and they told me like who to get into contact with each individual police precinct, to get the media attention and everything. And that was the day before I stopped at Baton Rouge, which is that precinct, one of the precincts that had the high profile shooting with the ex-Marine that killed the police officers at the car wash.
Mhm.
So, I by the time I got to that one, I got an escort. They shut off two lanes of the highway. I got to run to the site of the shooting, and then I got to give a minute of silence on a live stream and everything. And
Wow.
I did that there, and then I also stopped at like Dallas and a few of the other locations. And after I did Dallas, it got me on the Tommy Lawrence show, if you're familiar with her.
Mm-mm. Oh,
Uh,
wait, who is it? Tommy?
Tommy Lauren.
Yes, I know exactly who that
Yeah,
is.
I was interviewed by her on the Blaze back in 2016 for everything, but the Dallas PD made a nice little video presentation and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, so I did that in 2016, and then
And you just do all this
2017.
for just out of the kindness of your heart. Like you're not doing it for money, notoriety, fame. Like you're just doing it out of gratitude, out of the kindness of your heart to show support.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
I always try to, well, I mean, like with all this stuff, though, I've always been somebody that's like a limit pusher that does like epic level type things. But each year I try to do at least like one thing to like give back to charity.
Yeah.
So, 2017, I found an event called the Texas Quad, so it's 4 marathons in 4 days. So with that event series, I raised money for this organization called Boots on the Ground. They were
Okay.
local to Long Island, so they would, like every Tuesday night, we would meet up and send out care packages to Afghanistan, and then we all we also had a food pantry and everything. So what I did though is I loaded up a rucksack with 45 pounds of canned goods. Obviously the canned goods didn't really survive, but at the same time the canned goods were more symbolic.
Yeah.
But I loaded up with 45 pounds of canned goods, well, not ran, but drove to Dallas. So it's like a 22-hour drive from New York. And
Wow.
I ended up doing 4 marathons in 4 days, which is 26.2 miles a day for 4 days. And then I raised $3,000 for the organization, and then I donated the cans back, whichever one survived it. Some of them were like bent and twisted. But that year I did that, and then 2018, at the end of that year, I did something similar for the same organization. But at the end of the year, I found this Savage Seven series. So it was 750 Ks in 7 days.
Wow.
So I ended up finishing all seven. And while I was doing that, I didn't care. I carried the rucksack for the first one, but then my knees and hips were getting too wrecked. So I continued with the American flag for the rest of them. But while I was doing that, I was actually listening. This was at the end of 2018, so it was about the time David Goggins' audiobook came out.
Mm.
So I was listening to his story on how he set the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours, and how he always advertised himself as being like this regular guy that created this persona called Goggins that would do these epic level things. And I started thinking to myself, well, what makes me any different than him? You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I started to brainstorm world records that I could potentially attain, and that's when I stumbled on that record for most 100 milers in a year.
Mm.
And I only had about 10 100-mile finishes at the time, so I wasn't like too seasoned. I'd been my first 100-mile race was in 2015, and that one actually put me in the hospital, believe it or not. But
I believe it. It would kill me. So I get it. Yeah.
yeah, so I thought to myself, I have a pretty good recovery, so I wonder if there's a record for most 100 milers in a year. So I looked it up, and this guy Ed Ettinghausen, he had done 41 in a year back in 2014, So, I just put together a plan. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. Let me just take one at a time. And then surprisingly, somehow I hit my first six in a row, like
Wow.
back to back to back weekends. And I was like, maybe I can do this. It's not really, I mean, I'm recovering pretty well. So I threw together a bunch of fundraising links and everything and set out on a quest to do it. And then
Quick question.
coincidentally,
How long does 100 miles take you to run? Like one of those 100-mile races, how long does that take you?
well, it depends on the terrain. Usually, like on a flat one, my fastest one was 22 hours and 53 minutes.
Wow.
But my longest one, like it was the Infinitus one, which was it was a mountain race in Vermont. That one took me about 39 hours, I think I took, but I also took my time with that one because I was getting off a shin injury.
Yeah.
So
So literally
yeah,
you knock it out in a weekend. Like, this weekend I'm just gonna
yeah.
go run 100 miles, no big deal.
Oh no, you're not gonna, like your standard, and standard being like flat course, they'll usually give you a little more time on the mountain and stuff, but your standard cutoff time is usually about 30 hours.
Wow.
So like on your average course, like right now, I mean, I'm only a little over a year out from hip surgery. So like right now I'm averaging pretty much like 26 and a half hours.
Wow.
Because I've done three of them this year so far.
And is it a race like you're trying to win or you're just trying to knock down how many you complete so you can beat the record?
Yeah, so I'm never been like that fast. I've more or less been like steady. I'm like one of those I have won a few races before,
Mhm.
but I usually just go for completion because the one thing about 100-mile races is like anything can happen. You could have somebody like let's say you're doing like 10-mile loops and somebody's like 3 laps ahead of you, so he's like 30 miles ahead of you. He might just randomly decide to quit.
Mm,
And like you might win just because like the top few guys quit and then you were just the only one that finished.
yeah.
So it's one of those things though where you're in also too, it kind of teaches you something about yourself though, because like I could give advice to one person on it and my methods might not work for him, but he might finish one and then his methods might not work for me. So you just kind of learn things about yourself and how to like keep yourself going and everything. And then you
Yeah, what is
also
your mindset during that? Like, are you in your head? Are you thinking? Are you just in the moment, keeping your eye on the terrain? Like, where do you go? Do you listen to music, podcasts?
See, I just kind of get into like a deep flow state almost, like if
Uh,
you're familiar with like how that
mhm.
is. Like I have a different strategy for depending on like what kind of race it's like. So like this one past weekend was a 50-mile out and back. Yeah, so it was 50 miles to a turnaround and then back. It was mostly flat. It was on a rail trail, so a rail trail is something that a railroad used to go on but no longer does.
Mhm.
So it's just like crushed limestone, but like it had a 4% grade on some sections, so it wasn't anything like too steep. But with something like that, I'll put my watch on and I'll set it for like a 6-minute run, 3-minute walk, and then I'll just keep repeating that. But like on the stuff with like nasty terrain, like stuff in the mountains, I'll speed hike the hills and then I'll run the downhills and flats.
Mm.
So like the idea is just to keep yourself going though. Like so sometimes you don't really even have to be the fastest person out there to win it. You just have to be the one that survives it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
just consistent, just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing though too. And also the aid stations, they're helpful and they're harmful at the same time.
Mm.
So like with the aid stations, they're definitely a necessity because you need water and you need food and stuff like that. And it gives you a chance to like reset your gear and everything. But at the same time, they're very inviting and they have a chair there.
Uh,
And if it's 2 in the morning and you sit down for more than 5 minutes, no matter how much caffeine you ingest, you're gonna start falling asleep.
yeah,
So so when I go to the aid stations, I try to go in and get out.
yeah.
Just keep moving forward because
Yeah,
like the minute
imagine
you,
it seems super comfortable. It's like,
oh, it
yeah, I
does,
can
and
just
they're
wait
very
5 minutes,
friendly.
just recharge. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like super friendly though, so they'll be like, "All right, come on in, sit down. We'll make you some food." It's like, no, it should be made up already. What are you guys doing? Like I had a race a few weeks back though, where they told me they would cook me up ramen noodles and stuff. I'm like, this should be ready already.
Right.
They're like, oh,
Right.
well, we'll cook it up. So I just ended up grabbing the block and just chewing on the block as I was walking because I didn't want to stop to have me heat it up. Just because, at the same time, I needed the calories, but at the same time, I needed to keep on the move so that my body didn't crash.
Yeah.
So, especially going into the night, though, because it's funny, though, too, though, because the hardest part is getting through the night. Once you get to the morning, usually you're fine after that, though, because once the sun comes up, your circadian rhythm resets, and then you just wake back up, and it's like it's like you didn't even, it's like you slept all night.
Interesting.
But
I love that philosophy. I used to hate waking up in the mornings, alarm after alarm after alarm, but when I just started
yeah,
waking up with the sunlight, it's like I don't have to set any alarms. It's just so nice that it body naturally does that.
yeah, and like my body's used to getting up at like 3 a.m. anyway, because that's usually when I train.
Mm.
Yeah, because as a personal trainer, I start my day at like 5 a.m. with clients and stuff, so I try to get out there at 3 to do all the road stuff. Yeah, not only that though, but there's nobody else on the road, so living on Long Island, I have to worry about drivers and stuff. So
Oh yeah, I bet. You got to
yeah,
be on the
no,
defense all the time out there.
oh yeah. Well, not only that though, I find too though that anything you want to get done, for the day, it's best to get it done as early as possible.
Yeah.
See, believe it or not, I've always been more of a gym rat my whole life though, so I could lift weights at any time during the day, but running, if I don't get it done like at 3 a.m., it's not going to happen.
Mm,
So yeah, so like when it comes to training for that, I make sure I get it done like as early as possible.
smart.
So
Smart. Cool. Well, sorry to distract you back from your story. I find it fascinating. It's nothing I've ever done, and it's very interesting to hear about all of it.
yeah. So where was I at again? I
Well,
think I was
let's see. It was you were at the Tommy Lauren show after your Dallas thing.
okay. And then I kind of went into the 100 miles and stuff like that. So I'll go back to 2019. So at the end of, I got to I got to August of that year and I ran out of money completely. Like, and I took a crushing DNF. DNF means you didn't finish, or
Mm,
it stands for did not finish. So it was this race called the Habanero 100, and it's called Habanero because it was in Houston in August with no shade cover. So it
spicy.
was like, so it hit like triple digits during the day. So with that type of race, you would just kind of like put one foot in front of the other during the day, and then when the sun fell, you would like speed up and run fast, and then so it's kind of like the opposite of what normally happens. But I ran out of shoes, I ran out of money, I ran out of everything, and I threw up a Facebook post, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm out of everything. So, and my hip was already starting to hurt a little bit. So then this guy that was that in this marine ultra running group, he caught my post and he's like, "All right, send me your fundraising link." So I sent it to him. So he shared it in the group and he's like, "I don't care what you give this guy, give him something so that he can continue this." And like within a day, I have like over $10,000 donated to me and like 9 sets of shoes.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of hurting right now, but I guess I got to keep going, because once people donate to you, you can't stop, it's
Right.
and so then I finished the next 12 in a row and finally got to like November and my hip was at the point where like I stumbled off the starting line and I just I did the first loop because it was a 10K loop you had to do I think like 18 times or whatever to hit 100 miles. So I finished the first 10K loop, but I couldn't really run. I was just kind of like speed walking. And at the time, there was three of us going for this record. So Walter had already broken it because he had a few more races and everything scheduled in there than I did. So I thought to myself, I'm like, all right, I don't have enough time to do this, so why risk the permanent damage just to get a subliminal number or whatever, or just some kind of number. So let me stop, I'll reset and then I'll recover for a year and then I'll come back and try to hit it again. And I got an X-ray and everything of my hip just to get it checked out, and it turned out I ended up having at the time it was mild to moderate arthritis, but it like accelerated to like severe within a year. And I didn't realize like how serious that was. I always thought it's like, oh, arthritis is just going to be a little stiff. I'll just deal with the pain. But then that ended up growing into like a nerve impingement and everything.
Mm,
So it got to the point where it was pretty much like shutting my leg down. And since I'm a veteran, I go to the VA for my insurance and everything. And their rationale behind it was like, oh, just stop running. And I'm like, wait, you just want me to stop? You're not going to fix it? They're like, okay, well, if you want us, in order for us to get funding for it to fix it, you have to be at least 55 or it has to be an emergency.
Jeez. And if you
So
wait till 55, I mean, you're
yeah,
going to be in a wheelchair.
to put it into perspective, I was 37.
Wow. Yeah.
So they wanted me to wait like about 20 years to get it done. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm already walking with a limp and everything. And here I am, I'm also a trainer. I can't demonstrate any lower body exercises or anything like that. So I kind of, in the beginning, I kind of like gaffed it off a little bit and I kept going. And then it didn't get really bad until 2022 because like I started getting back into it in 2021 and I developed the ability to run again. I was just doing like a lot of stretching and the Stairmaster too was one of those things where I kind of opened it up a little bit.
Hmm.
But then 2022 it got real bad. So, you know, I kept going to them again and they kept giving me the same thing. And then they kept lying to me, like telling me like things like, okay, if you get this surgery, you'll never be able to walk on uneven surfaces again. If you fall, you'll break your leg. If you do this, you'll do that. So they kept like deterring me from getting it. And then finally I got to the point, I'm like, all right, well, if this needs to be an emergency to get it done, I'm just going to keep pushing until it needs to get done.
Oof.
Because I got to get it done. Because at the same time, I'm at the point where I'm walking across the room and like I had like, I was getting it severe.
And this is
So
your living. This is how you make your living. You can't not
yeah,
have this capacity to do this. Yeah.
yeah. So 22, like so towards the end of 2022, I wanted to get the surgery. They still kept putting it off. So I was gonna stop running for a little bit, just try to fight a little bit more. But then at the end of 2022, my mom passed away.
Hmm.
So I wanted to do something in her honor. So at the time I was like heavy into Spartan racing and stuff because like with the with the Spartans and everything, it didn't affect my hip as much because you'd have the obstacles and everything. And most of them were in mountains, so you were climbing up mountains and stuff, so there wasn't really too much running. So 2023, I decided to attempt this world record for the most trifectas in a year. So I ended up limping through 32 Spartan trifectas. If you're not familiar with what a trifecta
Yeah.
is,
Tell
there's
me
three
what's a
different.
run, jump, run, swim, bike?
No, so Spartan has three different race classifications.
Okay.
One of them's a sprint, one of them's a super, one of them's a beast. So a sprint's about a 5K, which is a lie. It's more like 5 miles. Super is supposed to be a 10K. It's more like 8. And then Beast is supposed to be like a half marathon, but it could be anywhere from like 13 to 15 miles. So if you complete all three of those in a single calendar year, it's a trifecta. So I ended up doing that 32 times across 18 different countries, like every single
Countries.
weekend.
So
Yeah,
you would,
so
so you left
yeah,
the
so I
States to do this? You continued that?
oh yeah.
Oh,
But
wow.
in the beginning, I was wearing my mom's old name tag in her honor and everything. But I broke the pin on the back of it. I still have the name tag, luckily, so now I just keep it in my carry-on bag. But that year, I ended up doing 32 trifectas. So there was a couple of sprints over, so it was like around 100 or so Spartan races over the course of the year. And then I was doing like local stuff in between on the weekends where there wasn't any Spartan races. So that year I ended up hobbling through 158 events,
Wow.
with the bad hip and everything.
Wow.
And yeah, I got through it. And then towards the end of the year, I was finally able to get, the clearance for the hip surgery because I had grinded my hip joint down to the point where the last 5K I did, it took me an hour and a half to limp through it.
Oh,
And a 5K is 3.1 miles to put that into perspective. Like you can casually walk it in 50 minutes. It took me an hour and a half.
wow.
But that's how bad my hip got. And then,
It
you
reminds me
know,
of, like Goggins, where he ran so bad
yeah,
that, but you just kept going. Like it takes a certain kind of person to know that they're doing physical damage
yeah.
to their body, but to continue doing it. That's pretty honorable and kind of crazy.
Well, also that year though, too, though, because a lot of times it's like if you're doing something for like a cause like beyond yourself, it gives you a little bit more power. And like that year, it was a tribute to my mom. You know what I'm saying? So being that if I failed, I was letting my mom down, who I was doing it in honor of. It just kind of like sparked a different type of motivation. And like
Yeah.
some of those events, like there was one in Misano in Italy where like the last mile and a half of it was on the sand in the beach, in the beach. Like I was literally in tears because like the sand kept shifting my hip around. So I was bone on bone with an acetabular impingement. So anytime I would step, it would feel like someone was hitting me with a baseball bat in my right leg.
Wow.
And I just kept grinding through it, and somehow I was finishing them.
Do you take
And
like
that,
ibuprofen or any kind
oh
of
yeah,
pain
yeah,
reliever? Yeah.
yeah. The ibuprofen only gets you so far with something like that. I mean, I still do it for ultra marathons. I mean, I keep the dosages low though. Because the one thing about ibuprofen though that like versus let's say like Tylenol, ibuprofen's an anti-inflammatory. So like if you're running a 100-mile race, for example, you're building up a lot of inflammation. So if you're blocking that inflammation off, it kind of keeps your legs loose and keeps you going.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't recommend like using ibuprofen for like regular workouts because inflammation is part of the healing process.
Yeah.
But like if you're doing an event, like obviously whatever you train for is on the line. So then it's like, okay, I'll do it to get through
Yep.
it. So,
Sorry, back to Italy. You were on the
oh yeah.
beach and the most beautiful place, one of the most beautiful
Oh
places
yeah.
on the planet, and you're like so much pain.
Oh yeah. No, that year, like, I got through that, and then the final race was in Abu Dhabi in the desert, and that was even
Mhm.
worse with the sand and everything though, because now you're climbing sand dunes.
Yeah.
And sand dunes kind of feels like you're on a stairmaster because the sand drifts down a little bit as you're trying to climb them.
Oh yeah.
So it was pretty rough though, but I got through all of that though, and then finally at the end of the year, I was still battling the VA to try to get surgery after I was done with all that. So I finally talked to a younger surgeon, and he looked at my X-rays, and he's like, your bone density is still good, so you may be eligible for a procedure called a resurfacing. You might not even need a full replacement. But he's like, we don't do that here. So I'll put you in for a community care consult to get the VA to pay for the procedure outside. So I ended up getting a consult with an outside surgeon, and it got delayed month by month by month. So this was December. I talked to this guy, and I ended up not getting the surgery till July.
Oh.
But I talked to a surgeon on the outside. I told him what I did. Obviously, he dropped his head and shook it a little bit. But then he told me, he's like, look, everything that the VA told you is a lie. Like, you absolutely could run again if I do the surgery to you. The only thing is though, is like you must promise me that you won't run for or jump for at least 6 months after you do it. And I'm like, deal. Because here's the thing about like doctors, and I think this is why a lot of people have recurring injuries. Like the thing about it is though, is if they tell like somebody like me that you'll never be able to do this again, chances are I'm going to go out a month later, try it, and get hurt. But if I have somebody tell me that, hey, look, just let yourself heal for 6 months and then you'll be able to do it again, I'm more likely to listen to that guy versus somebody that says it'll never happen again.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
so.
Yeah. And so you were able to do that. You were able to not work out. Well, I suppose you could probably do upper body, but
Well,
you were able to adhere to the 6 months.
the only limitation he gave me was not to run or jump.
Oh,
So, I asked him, I'm like, well, could I walk with a rucksack? He's like, yeah, you can walk with a rucksack, you can do squats, you can walk 10, like I'm on the I just got done with the surgery and everything. So he goes to me, he's like, you can walk 10 miles tomorrow if you want to. You probably won't be able to, but you could absolutely
wow.
do it.
Wow.
But yeah, I actually like if you look back through my reels from like last year, I actually like videoed everything I did. Like from I called it day zero, the day I got the surgery, all the way up until I was able to like run again. So like I think it was day 5 or day 6, I went outside with my walker. The nerve blocker was still affecting my legs, so I couldn't really move it.
Yeah.
But I went outside and I walked like 2 miles with my walker and everything. And I had all the neighbors giving me weird looks and stuff. So I just waved, hey, like as I saw
With
them,
your
and they were just like,
walker,
what's this guy
across
doing?
the street.
Yeah. but I didn't care though, because like at that point in time though, like I mean I did everything that the doctors told me that I could do, but obviously I pushed it a little bit. But I have one of the speediest recoveries that they've ever seen. And not only that though, but one of the things that helped me out the most though was like sticking to like stretching and everything. And I think too, if I was stretching more, I probably never would have had that injury. And that's so many people overlook that, including myself. But ever
100%.
since I got the surgery, I make sure I at least I stretch out for at least a half hour a day. And I take my hip through like every single angle possible, and it saved me pain. I mean, even like after the surgery where people don't recommend you running, I've still done like we'll take back in June, for example. I raised I did this series where the intent was 1150 Ks in 11 states in 11 days, but with a 50-pound rucksack. But I got through the first 3 days with the ruck. And then I ended up doing 1050 Ks in a marathon, because on day 3 I got cut at a marathon with the rucksack, and then after that I did it without the ruck. But I raised money for this group called Operation Vest. So VEST is an acronym that stands for Veterans Ending Suicide Together.
Mm.
So what they do is they fund counseling services for veterans and everything to help with the veteran suicide epidemic. So I want, that was this year's giving back thing I did. So I ended up doing that, like not even so I had the surgery July 30th of last year, and I did that in June of this year. So I put on 337.2 miles in an 11-day period on a hip where the VA told me if I got the procedure I wouldn't be able to walk on uneven surfaces again.
Wow, amazing.
So
I want to backtrack a little bit just because you touched
okay.
on something. That was one of my biggest takeaways from the David Goggins books was the stretching, because he was completely
Yeah,
laid out. He couldn't move. Nobody could diagnose him. You ruined your body was
yeah,
more or less the answers he was giving. And so since that point in time, I stretch a lot. Like I love doing
yeah,
the pliability warrior yoga. It's like a 45-minute yoga, hot yoga. Like I love throwing that into my routines of fitness because
yeah,
I fully believe that. And it's something that's so easy, but it's so easy, it's overlooked by a lot of people who are in
yeah,
physical fitness and training. And like when I'm coaching my clients, I really try to push on the training or on the stretching as well, because um,
yeah.
it's just not common knowledge, but it makes so much sense and it does make such a difference. And like you said, had you been stretching, you don't even think that would have happened. So
Well,
it's
one
like
of the things
phenomenal takeaway.
oh yeah, well, one of the things I was doing while I was down with the injury, I was while I was waiting for surgery, and I was taking all these advanced level fitness certifications. So I took NASM's flexibility coach certification.
Mm,
And the one thing that made sense that I wish I would have known before though is that when you make a muscle more pliable or more flexible, mobile, whatever, it enhances your ability to absorb shock.
mm,
You know what I'm saying though? So it
mhm.
helps with high impact sports and stuff. And
Yeah.
I had never knew that. So I was like, wow. And then they used an analogy of like a board versus a pool noodle. Like if you take a board and smack it really hard against water, you might split it, but if you use a pool noodle, it'll absorb all the shock.
Yeah.
The pool noodle is more flexible and pliable than a board is.
Bible,
So
yeah.
I started to think about that. I'm like, wow, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And also too, like, I'm 43 years old right now, and even though I've had the surgery and stuff like that, like all my joint pain went away.
Wow.
Like I don't feel any impact related pain even after a 100 miler though. I recover fine, and then I just so like even if I skip a workout during it, for like a day, I always make it a priority now to stretch. It's like the most important thing you can do, and like nobody does it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it does kind of feel like a chore to do, but at the same time though, it's beneficial. So
It is. It is. And that's why, like, as even with 75 hard, I will put
yeah,
in like 45 minutes of stretching as one of my workouts. And, maybe it's debatable where
yeah,
it's a workout, but I'm like, it's like the best thing I could be doing for my body to enable me to be better for all the other high impact stuff like CrossFit and all that kind of stuff. And I don't get injured, like I
yeah.
can't dispute that it works.
Yeah, 75 hard is like one of the nemesis of mine. I still haven't finished it yet.
Oh, dude, I'm on day 10 of phase one. So I'm having to do the
Oh,
cold
nice.
showers. I'm having
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. But I really I love the discipline and the routine and the
Yeah.
challenge. And I know that gallon of water, like if I'm not on 75 hard, I'm not drinking a gallon of water. So I know that helps me feel better as well. I mean, there's just everything about it, but that's my challenges.
Yeah.
You've got much bigger challenges.
Well,
75 hard are my challenges that I get to win.
well, see, right now I can't do it because of the 100-mile races and stuff. Yeah, because there's too many things like conflicting with it though. Because I
Oh yeah.
mean, I'm sure 100 miles would count as two different workouts. Maybe I don't know,
Nope,
but
not per Andy. You got to separate it by
no,
like 5 hours.
is it five now? I thought it was three.
Was it, is it three? Well, I know there's
I don't
a
know, whatever.
definitive amount of
Five's
time,
probably
so you'd
better
have to
because
take
it
a
makes
big
it.
break.
Oh yeah, five's probably better though because it makes it more inconvenient.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, the first time I did it, I got to day 62 and I was on a I was flying to Australia and I had a layover in Hong Kong. And if I would have left the airport to do my outdoor workout, I would have had to quarantine and I would have, gotten like the swab up the nose and everything.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, I failed. And then all my friends were like, well, can't you make an exception? I'm like, no, he says no exceptions. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's like too bad. Life's not fair, you know?
And it's an integrity point because nobody would know.
Yeah.
You could easily like, do whatever and nobody would know. I mean, I went through that the other night. I'm
Yeah.
in bed, it's 10 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to take a cold shower. Like the last thing in the world I want to do is take a
Yeah.
cold shower right before bed. But I'm like, okay, so do you want to fail or are you going to get up and go take a cold shower? And I got up and
Yeah,
went and
because
took
I
a
mean,
cold
if
shower.
you lie about it and say you did it anyway, I mean, you're defeating the purpose of it though, because it's a
Right.
developmental thing. It's not like you're doing like some kind of athletic competition or whatever, and like, or I don't know what to compare it to, but like if you're cheating on it, you're only cheating yourself though, because you're ruining your self-discipline, you're lying to yourself.
Yep.
So you're ruining your own integrity and everything, you
A
know.
100%. And some people are like okay with that. They feel like it's good enough. I call that
Yeah.
75 soft. But yeah, no.
But
But
then if
again,
they,
that's why I like it because there's
yeah.
no wiggle room. It's black and it's white. Either you did it or you didn't. And it's up to your own integrity. Like the times I failed deep into it, like 69 days and 70 days, I had
Oh
a
yeah.
death. And it was a choice like, okay, are you going to continue?
Yeah.
And I thought it was in my mind, I felt not disrespectful, but I felt like it wasn't the right choice and I purposely took myself off. And then the other
Yeah.
time I was super deep into it, went through, did all my 2 workouts app, woke up in the morning. I literally sprung out of bed. I was like, oh my God, I worked out twice indoor yesterday. My routine was different. I did CrossFit.
Yeah.
I did this. They were both inside. And again, nobody would have known. I still worked out twice, but it was an integrity point where I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm not doing it. I took one day off
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'm getting back on it. Because
Yeah. I
then
had
it's a challenge. You want to, can I do
yeah.
it? Yeah.
I had three times I got pretty deep into it. That one with the airport, that one was whatever. Then another time, I think I was like 55 days into it. It was the second attempt at it. I ended up getting angry about something at work and I was hitting the heavy bag and I ended up like pinching a nerve in my neck. So it shut my left arm down. I mean, I still rolled with it a little bit though, but when I went to my physical therapist and he goes to me, he's like, "This is beyond my pay grade. You have to go to the hospital."
Oh,
So I
shoot.
spent like about 9 hours in the hospital, and I ended up like caving and having hospital food.
Mm.
Because they didn't want to like starve to death, and like the hospital food, it's like, all right, they give me
Like
spaghetti and meatballs, so it's
Jello.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, fail.
Yeah, we can't.
And
That
then
doesn't fit in the diet. No.
yeah, and then the last time I did it. I didn't even realize I did anything wrong though. Because like after I finish my gallon of water, I'll fill it back up, throw it in the refrigerator, for the next day. Because I have one of those gallon jugs that has the timestamps on it, so it makes
Mm.
things like so much easier. So you can tell what time you're supposed to be at what water marking and everything, or
Oh, I've
or
never
what amount
seen
of
that.
water.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you get a chance to look it up on Amazon, Aquafit makes it though, but it'll say 9 a.m., 12 a.m. or 12, it'll have all the hours of the day and it'll have like the amount of water you drank. So it
Ooh,
makes it real easy because I try to stay 2 hours ahead. That way I'm done with all my water by like 6 p.m. and I'm not getting up to go to the bathroom all night long.
yep.
But
Hardest part about 75 hard is all the peeing.
oh yeah, well, and you get complacent after a while too. And this was like pure complacently. I get up the next morning and I go to reach in the refrigerator to grab my gallon water jug and I'm like, it's not there. I'm like, what? And then I walk over to my nightstand and there's like 2 ounces of water left into it. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
like it was just like complacency that got me. So it was like, oh man, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take a break for this for a while.
yeah. Yeah. It's the little
But
details that usually get us. It's not like the big
yeah,
things. It's the little details. I had Emily on my podcast and she said for her it was the picture. And I'm like, how is that just not part of your normal life, that picture?
oh
And she
yeah.
said that's the one that always gets her.
Well, my philosophy behind it, since I would wake up super early for my outdoor workout anyway, is I would like at the time I didn't have a 5 a.m. session, I had a 6 a.m. one. So I would wake up, I would immediately roll out of the bed. The picture would be the first thing in the morning I did.
Mm,
Then I would read my 10 pages. Then I would do my outdoor workout. So then by the time that was all said and done, I work out again at the gym anyway, and then all I had to do was just stay on top of the water and everything was good.
yeah.
So I got all the critical tasks done in the morning, and then the other two tasks, it's like whatever, I do that anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I found to be the easy part about it though. Like that's one of the things that program taught me. Like even though I didn't get all the way through it, anything you're gonna forget, just get it done first thing in the morning.
Exactly. Knock out those critical tasks first
Yeah,
thing early on. And it took me like 2 rounds to figure that out because I would leave
yeah,
everything to the end and I'm tired. I'm out, outdoor workout at midnight. I'm like, at some point, it took me a while, but now I
yeah.
got that part down. Yeah.
Well, also too though, the reading I find though too though, like it's much easier to read when you first wake up than it is before you go to bed.
Oh, yeah.
And I find it that way too though, because you haven't had any stress put on you throughout the day yet. So rather than like trying to sit there and read, your mind's racing through different thoughts and stuff, your head's completely clear. So if you read first thing in the morning, you actually retain more of it,
That's
or at
that's
least
a
I
good
do
one.
anyway.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I'm the same way. And also, if I wait
Yeah.
till later, I'm so tired. And I've known a lot of people that have failed because they save it and they fall asleep while they're reading.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh,
Um,
did I get through my
I
10?
haven't
I
done
don't
that
think I
during
did.
I haven't done that during 75 hard, but I have fallen asleep reading before.
Yeah, so that's the danger of doing it at night. Again, that's why it's good to get
Yeah.
that one done in the morning too. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, it's much easier to read if I'm like sitting at my kitchen table like I am now. It
Mm,
makes it so much easier.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. Agreed. Yeah. So what are you doing now? So your last one was in June. Are you going for another record this year or what is your plan with that?
okay, so the last charity thing was in June. That's where I did the
That's
1150K in 11 states in 11 days. I just ran a 100 this past weekend in South Dakota,
oh wow.
and I got four more in the next 4 weeks scheduled. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get to 100 milers by the end of next year.
Wow. Okay.
I currently finished my 48th one last weekend.
That's amazing.
So I have about 16 that I have tentatively scheduled for this year. And then next year, I don't know if I may end up attempting the record again. I just might have to double up a few weekends, which is doable if you pick the right events. But
Crazy.
52 is kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, that's so much. That is crazy. So what do you do to prepare? Like, what is your diet? What is your, do you have a meditation practice? Like, vitamins, like, what do you do to set yourself up to be able to continue to do this without damaging yourself whatsoever?
I mean, the damage part is a risk. I mean, also too with the surgery, I don't know how long that's going to last because unfortunately, when they put artificial parts in you, they don't regenerate. But
Oh,
but that's where the stretching and everything else comes into play
mhm.
because I have to stay on top of that. If I slack off even for a minute, it could cause more damage to the implant. You know what I'm saying? So if
Is it a
I
cadaver or is it like,
no, so what a resurface is though is it's similar to a replacement, only you don't get the rod down your leg. So they'll shave off the femur and put a cap on it, And then, it's like screwed into the top of your femur, and then you have the artificial cup holder on the top or whatever, because it's like a ball and socket joint.
Okay.
So that's what a resurface is. A replacement, you end up getting that entire rod down your leg. So a replacement has more of a risk of dislocation. But where a resurface is bad is you still have the actual like neck of your femur there instead of the rod.
Mm.
So if your bone density is not super strong, you could risk a stress fracture in the femur by doing repetitive motions. However, the resurface is usually what they do to people on the younger end. There's also too, if I end up having to go in for revision surgery, they'll just replace it anyway.
Mm.
Whereas if I had a full replacement and they had to do a revision, you have less bone to work with. So it's much easier just to fix like a resurface and just do a full replacement than it is to do another replacement because then they have to take away more bone to put the other rod in.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well, that's good. So this is where your bone density, your age, that's really working for you.
yeah. Yeah, so to be eligible, you have to be less than 55 and you need strong bone density. So, and I just had a DEXA scan like maybe about a week ago, and like my bone density is like off the charts because of all the weight training and everything else.
Nice. What does your
But
diet look like to enable your body to perform like that?
well, right now I'm doing the exact opposite of what every endurance athlete does, and I'm taking in a lot of protein, probably close to 300 grams a day.
Yeah.
Um, I'll eat, I'll do like like extremely high calorie like around the races. But like during the week, I eat relatively cleanly, so I do more like bro style dieting where I do the chicken and brown rice and because I'm my primary background is like being a gym rat anyway, so I
Yeah.
eat more like a bodybuilder, but then around the weekends I'll up the calories dramatically, and also too like when you're doing an event like that, it's very hard to calorie count. Like you just have to kind of eat because even if I store like a little bit of fat afterwards, I'd rather have the excess calories and not worry about like dropping dead on the course versus trying to count calories and get everything exact. Because
Yeah.
also too, though, I could always restore the diet during the week when I'm at home safe and sound.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
and I can imagine your metabolism is amazing and you could probably get away with eating not great food and still just keep burning through it.
oh yeah, no, it's through the roof right now. Like the hardest part about anything like that though is like I can't really look in the mirror either. Cause like the water retention's all over the place. Because that's the one thing that people don't comprehend about like going on diets and stuff like that is you can eat one, because it takes approximately 3,500 calories to store a pound of fat. A lot of times when people eat one thing and they gain weight, it's just water retention. Like they have a food that's like high in sodium or something like that. And sodium stores extracellular water, whereas potassium is more intracellular water. So like if your sodium and potassium are out of balance, you start like bloating a little bit more.
Yep.
So like a lot of times like your body fat didn't go up, you're just retaining water. And especially with these endurance events, like I had one week where I was like I think I was like 174 on Friday, and then I came back Monday at like 185. And then within 2 days it dipped back down another 6, 7 pounds. So
Wow.
it's just all over the place though. So like as far as like me paying attention to the scale and everything, like I pretty much have to like throw it out the window.
100%. I mean, and I've learned that too.
Yeah.
Like, and part of the reason I went on phase one is because I was traveling. We went out to the CrossFit Games. I went to another business thing. So I was eating out
Yeah.
for like 10, 11 days. And although we're eating right foods, it's still in restaurants. So you don't know what kind of oils and,
Yeah.
all the different things. And so when I forget and then I get on 75 hard, diets in check, eating at home, all the right things.
Yeah.
But now I'm drinking a gallon of water and my body's just kind of holding on to it. So same thing. I can't look in the
Yeah.
mirror and I can't look at the scale because I know my body's just like fluffing back up because I was probably a bit dehydrated and I just got to like put that stuff aside even though I'm having to take the pictures every day. I'm like it's okay. It's
Yeah.
going to catch up. Like my body's going to do what it needs to do and
Well,
process
and,
everything the way it
and
needs
that's
to.
all, and that's all a mindset too when it comes to tracking stuff though, because even if you like, because I'll do things sometimes too though, where like I'll like weigh every day just to kind of see what happens. But the biggest thing like about like tracking and monitoring anything though is like you have to like emotionally detach from the numbers and just take it as feedback.
Yeah.
So like if you look at it, it's like, okay, I ate this and I gained 2 to 3 pounds of water or whatever. Maybe I should kind of like put that out of my diet and then, because all it is feedback,
Yep. All of
So
it. Do you wear like a Whoop or anything like that to monitor your metrics and that beyond just the scale?
um a lot of those things, I mean, I have a Garmin, like a Phoenix 6S,
Yeah.
and it does all that stuff, but also has like the GPS and everything. But like with stuff like that, I kind of make a game out of it though, because I mean calorie counts from those things aren't really that accurate.
Yep.
So like yeah, like I've always looked at calories like kind of like points on a video game.
It's a good
Because
way to look
sometimes
at
I
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, because
Yeah.
it's very hard. It's very hard though, because unless you like hook somebody up to like a respirator and get their actual respiratory exchange rate, you're not really gonna like figure out exactly how many calories they're burning. Because
Yeah.
even when you do get like an RMR or a BMR or anything like that, all it is pretty much like a starting point. And then you still have to like test and assess and see if something's going up or going down. Like nothing's
100%. Boy,
ever.
I got
Yeah,
completely just we did one of those like BMR things in a tank where you submerge yourself and it basically called
yeah.
me obese and I was like, what the fuck?
Oh,
It just like crushed my spirit for so long. But in today's
yeah,
society, what they consider like healthy is so low, and then you're a woman, you have muscle, it doesn't account for a lot of that stuff. So again, it's
yeah,
just numbers, it's just feedback, but it's not a be all end all. There is no one size fits all. For me, I like more like it for like the metrics of like recovery, like, oh, I did that yesterday and I slept like shit. Okay,
yeah,
so that helps me like adjust how I'm doing things so that I see what helps and what doesn't. But again, it's just numbers because you could tweak out on that too. Like,
yeah,
oh my God, I'm in the red today. Like, how am I even functioning? It's like, okay, if I didn't look
yeah.
at that, I wouldn't even have known that and I would have functioned just fine. So, yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like as long as you're just taking it as feedback and then just kind of like adjusting off it.
yeah,
Because that's the hardest part though, is like a lot of times too many people, like when you're working with them, they have such a fixation on like, okay, like I gained 2 pounds today. Oh, the world's coming to an end. I give up.
yeah.
And it's like, well, you just have to kind of view it like, just it's like, all right, this number changed to this, so let me just adjust and do something different, or just take it as feedback.
Feedback, yeah, just
Yeah.
information, to make choices, which I really,
Yeah.
like and appreciate. I mean, shit, Whoop now has a journal of like 50 questions I answer every morning. I'm like, "Oh my
Oh
God,
man.
this is like," and I could probably do
Yeah.
another 100, like, they've expanded it so much, but then I would spend 20 minutes just saying everything I did the day before.
Yeah.
But again, it's been cool because I can start to tweak on like, okay, I ate that and I gained 2 pounds even though it was in my diet. You're right, maybe the salt content was high or maybe it was
Yeah.
this or maybe it's just I enjoy like sort of playing around with it. And I'm also at a point where
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate where I'm not so fixated on losing weight, losing weight, losing weight, where now I can start to have fun with it, where I'm like, ooh, maybe I lost a little too much weight there because I literally lost my butt. So let me put on 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it came back. Like just stuff like that. Like it's
Oh
fun to
yeah.
be in a spot where you can play with it and not feel like so obsessed with some particular result or outcome.
Yeah, and there's so many different things that factor into like outside of just diet and exercise. So, there's your yeah, what they call NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's like what you're burning off when you're not working out. And then your brain too, like 20% of the calories you burn throughout the day come from like just thinking. So if you're somebody that's super stressed, like
Yeah.
like that's why a lot of like some people end up like emotionally eating because their brain's burning off so much energy and then their body starts like craving it, you
Mhm.
know.
And then they
Is
get
it?
the cortisol, so then it's
Oh
fluffing
yeah.
up because now they're stressed, so they're getting cortisol, but and they're not eating. Oh yeah, there's so much to
And
it.
cortisol, like excessively high levels just like wreak havoc on you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but it's kind of fun
yeah,
and it's interesting and it's things that we can be causative over, but not let it rule our lives. Yeah. Yeah, I have
yeah,
one of my guys, Tom, he's like, you can eat whatever you want as long as it's the right food. And I'm like, no, dude. I mean, maybe you
No,
can. You have a super high
yeah,
metabolism and you're younger and this. I said, I can't eat whatever I want. Like I can't just eat meat all day, like, 20 servings and lose and maintain. There is outflow versus inflow. There's calories. It is a thing. Like if I'm
yeah,
not burning that many calories and I'm putting more
yeah.
in, I'm gonna gain weight, even if it's the right foods.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to energy in versus energy out, you know?
Yeah.
And, well, a lot of it too, though. I mean, a lot of it, like, like people keep bouncing around from diet to diet to diet, and they just don't really stick with anything. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the thing about it though is like any like pretty much like any diet will work if you stick to it, just because you're monitoring your intake. You know,
Yeah.
like people will ask me all the time though, what's the best diet to be on? It's like, well, what's the best one you can follow?
Hmm.
You know, because as long
100%.
as you're monitoring it, you're gonna make some kind of progress on it. You know, because that's the biggest thing. Most people just mindlessly eat. They'll like go to the bar or whatever, and then they'll see like the complimentary pretzels or whatever, and then they'll just sit there and chew and chew and chew, and then they'll
Oh yeah.
forgot they even ate them, and then they won't report it, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't understand." I was good, but I'm still not losing anything. But in the meantime, they devoured a whole bowl of pretzels and they don't even remember. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I've realized the diets I'm most successful on aren't like diets because the diets that I
yeah,
did, like 600 calories or HGC or all these different ones, I felt so deprived that when
yeah,
I took a break or a cheat weekend, like it was really difficult to make any progress. So for me, I did keto for like, oh my gosh, I want to say the last
yeah,
10 years. That was probably my best quote unquote diet because it was more of a lifestyle. And now I've transitioned into carnivore, which I'm like, wow, that aligns with me even more because I never really
yeah,
liked vegetables anyway. And now I just get to
yeah,
eat some fruit, meat, dairy, like perfect. This is the best diet for me ever because it's easy for me to stick to. I enjoy the food.
yeah.
I also intermittent fast, so I only eat like one meal a day, but I make sure it's a
Okay,
really good meal that I enjoy. And that's
yeah,
what I have to do just to maintain. When people hear you only eat one meal a day, it's like, yeah, dude, as you get older, you
yeah.
don't need as much. You realize how much maybe you have overeaten, and I'm able to function on a lot less than I used to.
Yeah, and like whatever works and everything too, that whatever you can follow, whatever you enjoy. Because the problem is like if you deprive yourself too much, you end up with that all or nothing mindset.
Yeah.
And all it takes is one little slip up, and then you're like, oh well, today's shot anyway. Let me go out and get an entire pizza, and then I'll
Oh
just start
yeah.
back up again tomorrow. And then the
Totally.
cycle just keeps completing. I'll just start again tomorrow, and then it just never comes.
Yeah, or
And
after this event, or after that holiday, or after this,
yeah,
and then yeah, there's always something. There's always a celebration. There's always some reason to not start again.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're following something that gives you a little leeway, like even if you're, I mean, I'm guilty of the all or nothing style dieting too, but at the same time, the ultra marathons kind of take care of that. But
Yeah, at the point that you're eating raw ramen, like,
yeah, just eating whatever's in front of you.
Yeah,
But yeah, where was I going with this? Um, yeah, but
the
yeah, the
all or
thing
nothing.
about
Yeah.
yeah, so with that all or nothing mindset, it just yeah, that's why you're better off like following like maybe like a like for
Mm,
the people that can do it, like a macro style diet and just having a little bit of what you enjoy. Yeah, because most people, especially with the way this country is, like portion sizes are out of control.
crazy. Yeah.
And that I mean also too, I mean, well, like me, I kind of need to elimination style diets work best for me, because like if I start eating something I enjoy, I end up eating too much of it.
Same. Like pizza,
But
I have no
yeah,
control. That is like my favorite cheat food. There's everything about it. I cannot eat one
yeah,
piece. I'm eating half a pizza.
yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I've never had a sweet tooth. I've always been like pizza, like chips, like burgers, like stuff like that. So I use all that stuff like when I carb load. So like if I'm not running or anything like that, I'll do a cheat on Friday.
Mm.
So Friday morning is when I'll take all my measurements, assessments, and stuff like that. and then I won't do it again till the following Friday because once you cheat, then you get the water retention. It takes a few days to get rid of it.
Mhm.
So it just messes with your head. And not only that, though, too, like the lower you get in body fat percentage, the more it messes with your head. Because once you're at the point where you start to see like visible abs and stuff, all it takes is like one meal and then you retain the water and you lose it. And then you're sitting there, it was like all those months of like hard work, but at the same time, they're not really gone yet. They're just covered up for like a day or two.
Yep.
Just because it's just all water retention. And it took me a while to kind of learn that because I remember one year I got like super shredded and then I decided to have like Taco Bell and McDonald's in the same night. And then the next
Wow.
day, yeah, it was just I was hanging out with the wrong people and everything. We just stopped there. But
Uh-oh.
the next day, everything I worked for was gone.
Mhm.
So I was like, you know what, forget this. But if I would have just waited a day or two, I just would have shredded back in. Yeah, because also too, even if it's one meal, your body doesn't, your body can't necessarily process everything you take in at once. Some of it's just going to pass through you. But if you repetitively cheat, then it's then it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to start storing stuff.
Absolutely. Well,
But
and that's what I've found is like, diets where I had a built-in cheat day or cheat weekend. Like I would make no progress. I'd be super disciplined all week and then it'd be gone one night. And then
yeah,
I'd be super disciplined all week and be gone. So there was no forward progress. And so I was like, okay, I can't. And that's
yeah,
again why I felt so successful on 75 hard because there is no cheats. You have
no,
to
not at all.
maintain this diet for 75 days. But then once you do that, it's like a lifestyle change. It's no longer a
Yeah,
quote unquote diet. Like this is how I am now. And so it's easy to kind of, I feel like, stay with it because you've developed a good habit now.
yeah, and also too though, like once you like, I remember, I think it was like the last time I failed it. Um, when I failed it, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go out and get pizza the next day just to eat it. And then I like didn't even want it. I almost had to force it down, because I got so used to like not
Yeah.
eating it or not wanting it. All the cravings went away,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah. And then your body adjusts. And then all of a sudden, for me, I eat bad food and it makes
Yeah,
me feel kind of bad. And I'm like, wait a minute, I used to have an iron stomach. Now all of a sudden, I'm going to feel bad. So
yeah,
there's that as well. And then, like you said, just seeing it instantly on the scale, instantly, I don't have abs. Instantly, it's like, dang, there is a price to pay for a cheat for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So awesome. It was such a great time talking with you. I really appreciate you coming on the show. If our
absolutely.
listeners want to get in touch with you, now you do personal training. Do you do that virtually or just in person?
I'm in the process of figuring out the virtual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm working on that though, because that'll free up a little bit more time. But right now I'm mostly in person. But I should have the virtual thing up and running in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, good for you.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like kind of because I'm like I wouldn't say technology illiterate. I'm like more like app illiterate, sort of. Because I could do spreadsheets and stuff like that all day long though. But I'm just trying to figure the apps and stuff out.
Oh, yeah.
So
But oh yeah, and it just keeps coming and changing so fast. I
yep,
struggle a lot with it, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with any of it. But you can't
yeah,
not. Like AI's coming, like you either got to get on the
yeah.
train or you're going to be left behind.
Oh yeah. And I just learned how to use Chat GPT not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
And it's been
yeah.
around for a while.
It has, and it's a little dangerous, like, it's just like the go-to
Yeah,
for everything, and I can tell, like, now when people use it to respond, like, on text,
yeah.
DMs, emails, I'm like, "That sounds very AI," like,
Right.
very proper, but I can tell that AI is writing this, and then I'm, like, not as, apt to wanna respond because I feel like you're
Yeah,
just using a robot to talk to me, so I don't really feel like personally connecting. But I think I've got to switch my viewpoint, realizing it is a tool. There
yeah.
is some effort being put in. It's just different.
Well, it is crazy though too though, because I mean I've got like several articles and like podcasts on the internet about me. Like I could even like put my own name in and it'll write up a pretty accurate bio on me and all the endurance stuff I've done and everything. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is
So
crazy. It's super crazy. It's like scary crazy and how fast it's just
yeah.
like there it is. And you're like, holy
Yeah.
shit, that sounds just like me. Frightening.
Yeah.
But
So
hopefully we can learn to harness it for the powers of good, and it's a
yeah.
tool, not a handicap or whatever that would be, the anti of it.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't cause like a real world judgment day, there shouldn't be any problems.
As long as the robots don't take over. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot about the Matrix, the Terminator. It's like it's coming, man.
Yeah. I
The
even saw
alien
some
thing
other
that's like six, heading
oh
towards this
yeah.
earth, and there's all kinds of stuff happening.
Well, I even saw something how they're messing around with liquid metal now, and I'm like, "Dude, don't you guys watch any bad movies?"
Right. That is straight Terminator right there. I remember seeing
Yeah.
that in that movie and I was like, "Oh my God, that's frightening."
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Um,
how can our listeners get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you? They love what you're doing. They want to support your cause. They want to help, donate to your different charities. How can they reach you?
all right, so I do have a GoFundMe up right now for the 100 miler thing. That's just GoFundMe.com/Billy100. But the easiest way to reach out to me is either Instagram or Facebook. So Instagram, it's Billy the Ultra Beast with no spaces. And Facebook, it's Billy Richards. Both profiles have a picture of me with like a Spartan headband holding the American flag. And they both have blue checks, so it's me.
Nice. And that's a good disclaimer because you're right. There's so many fakes out there that it's
Yes.
good to have that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so my original Instagram profile, I had like 30,000 followers, something like that. And then in 2022, I wasn't thinking right, because I was waiting for like a midnight flight leaving like Montana. And I responded to this request for sponsorship and they hacked my page and I lost all of it. So like 2022, I had to recreate like my Instagram and everything. My old Instagram used to be Billy the Trainer, and you know how
Mm.
hard a name like that is to get.
Yeah.
But I
Wow.
lost everything. Like it,
Did they try
yeah.
to hold it hostage? Like they'll give it back to you for like money?
Oh no, they changed the name, they changed everything. It took me forever to find it, and they were trying to that. And I kept getting text messages from people asking me if I was selling them bitcoins.
Oh my God.
And I even got one text from one of my friends. He's like, "Oh yeah, congratulations on the new house." I'm like, "I don't have a new house." So they were
Wow.
posting up all these BS posts and everything, though, like stuff that I would never post. Just trying to like sell Bitcoin and like sell other stuff. And then my page also hacked another bunch of people's pages. So I'm sitting there like panicking because I don't want my reputation to get ruined by this.
Right.
But yeah, eventually they took it down. Well, like the beauty about the blue check mark is if somebody tries to copy you, since they already have your ID and everything, like I can go to Instagram, report the profile, and within like 10 minutes, I'll take it down.
Oh, that's good.
So
That's good. Yeah,
yeah,
because I
so if
have the blue
somebody,
checks, but I'm not important enough for anybody to try to hack me. So I've been pretty lucky so far.
you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
also
you're right.
too, like I definitely set up two-factor authentication now. So now if somebody tries to log into my page, they have to get I get texted like a verification number, so they can't
Oh, that's good.
log in unless I type in that code. So
Smart. Smart.
yeah,
We live, we learn, we change, hopefully.
yeah, that's all it is. It was definitely a learning experience for sure,
Yeah, absolutely.
but
Coming
yeah, I
to
definitely keep the
these
security
ages,
up.
we never would have been dealing with these problems 20 years ago. So
Yeah,
it is a learning process. But if there's a way for people to
yeah,
take advantage of situations, boy, I've learned they will. They don't want to do
well,
the work
absolutely.
themselves. They'd rather just hijack the work that you've been doing. It's
Yeah,
pretty.
none of those hackers are in America either, so it's not like they're all like some kind of foreign entity. So
Yeah,
it's like there's like no one to report it to.
true.
So
Absolutely. There we go. Well, thank you so
yeah,
much for coming on the show. I appreciate the amazing conversation that we had, and I look forward to connecting in the future.
absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. We'll talk soon.
Definitely.
Bye.